Guys, today I've got some autumn or fall food ideas for you, starting with this creamy butternut squash pasta. I bought this amazing pasta recently that's dyed with spinach, beetroot, paprika, and it's really autumnal, so we're going to be using that today. To make the sauce, we're going to use a butternut squash, first of all chopping it into pieces and then cooking it. I'm going to steam mine because it's just the easiest and quickest way of cooking it. Whilst that's cooking, we're going to take half a cup of cashew nuts, add them to a bowl, and we're going to cover them with hot water. Just enough water to cover the nuts is fine, and this will just allow them to soften, so we're just going to put those to one side. Then taking 1 diced onion and 1 cup of chopped mushrooms. These are going to be blended, so don't worry about the chopping. We're going to cook these with a bit of vegan friendly butter until they soften. When the butternut squash is cooked, we can add our pasta to the boil so that it's ready when we finish the sauce. To make the sauce, we're going to add the mushrooms and onions and any juices to the blender, along with 1 stock cube, 1 cup of non-dairy milk, the cashews that we had earlier, we'll drain those off and then add them, some black pepper, some salt, some garlic. I don't have any cloves of garlic left, so I'm using this chopped garlic, but I like quite a lot of garlic, it's up to you. I'm going to add some nutritional yeast. Even though this isn't a cheesy sauce, it just adds a nice depth. And then it's time to add in the butternut squash. I'm just adding in half of this because we're going to use the other half for a recipe later in the video. I'm adding a little bit of tomato puree, some oregano and some basil, and now it's time to blend everything up. When your pasta's cooked, you can add the sauce straight from the blender. It's really creamy, comforting, hearty and delicious. I like to top mine with some herbs and some vegan parmesan. You can find the recipe for that in my ebook. The next idea is this cinnamon baked apple, which I've served here with custard. So you're going to take 2 apples. I'm using 2 baking apples here, so they're quite large. And we're going to remove the core, but don't go all the way down. You still want to leave a little bit at the bottom to keep the filling inside. To make the filling, we're going to use 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and 2 tablespoons of sultanas or raisins, 1 tablespoon of butter and some fruit syrup. I'm just using this Sweet Freedom and I'm using 1 tablespoon. Mix everything until it's totally combined, and then we're going to use this mixture to stuff where the core of the apple used to be. Now it's time to bake them. We're going to add the apples to an oven friendly dish and put a bit of water in the bottom of that dish. Using some foil, we're going to create almost like a little tent over the top of the apples and add them to the oven at 200 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes. After those 20 minutes, take off the foil and cook them for another 10 minutes. When they come out of the oven, they should be soft and sweet. Mine fell apart a little bit as I put it into the bowl, but it's okay. I'm serving this with non-dairy custard. You can have this with ice cream or with soy cream, anything you like, but I like the contrast of the custard and the apple. I'm adding a little bit of cinnamon on top, and that's it. It's a really simple, easy dessert. Now it's time to use up the rest of that butternut squash, and we're going to make creamy butternut squash hummus. It's so good. Starting off with 1 can of chickpeas, we're going to add in some garlic to the blender. Again, I'm using this chopped garlic, and I like my hummus really garlicky. It's up to you. 1 or 2 cloves is fine. I'm going to take the juice of a lemon and then add in the rest of the butternut squash that we left aside earlier. Salt and pepper need to go in now. I like to add a little bit more salt at the end if it needs it, so I don't add too much at this stage. And then a tablespoon and a half of tahini. Once it's blended up, you're left with this delicious, creamy hummus that's got a little bit of a twist with the butternut squash flavour. Really good as a sandwich bread or as a dip with pita bread or crackers. The last idea I've got for you is this Biscoff or Speculoos hot chocolate. Yep, it's got a secret ingredient. To make this hot chocolate, I'm going to use a dark cocoa powder, but if you want to, you can use a hot chocolate powder. This purple Cadbury's one is vegan friendly if you want it a bit sweeter. But I'm going to use the dark cocoa today, and I'm going to take 1 tablespoon of that and add it to my mug. Next, we're going to use the syrup we used earlier, the Sweet Freedom fruit syrup, and add 1 tablespoon of that. For a bit more of a luxurious hot chocolate, we're going to add a teaspoon of dark chocolate chips. And then I'm using my favourite milk, which is the Oatly Barista milk. This is a foamable one that's designed for cappuccinos but works amazingly with hot chocolate too. Heat the milk up. I've frothed mine, and as you can see, it's really creamy and rich. I'm going to add that to the hot chocolate mixture in the bottom, and then use the secret ingredient, 1 tablespoon of the Biscoff Speculoos spread, and use that to stir the hot chocolate. As you stir it, the Biscoff spread will dissolve and so will the chocolate, and you're left with this really rich hot chocolate. Top it off with a little bit more of your frothed milk and you're done. So that was part 1 of my autumn food ideas. I'll be back with part 2 very soon, but in the meantime, here is my last video if you want to give it a watch. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!